All right, guys. Well, welcome to another one of our Top Producers Nation weekly training calls. You guys are getting access to this training as a member of Top Producers Nation. And if you are openly invited through one of our other channels, but you would like to remain and be continued to have access to these calls, then you're going to have to at some point join our Top Producers Nation community, which is a free thing to join. So all you have to do is go to topproducersnation.com. I'll put the link in the Q&A in the chat in a minute. And you can go there. There are some online resources already there to help you with your business. Our goal is to help 1,000 agents this year in 2025 become top producers in their desired market. And so we would define as a top producer somebody who's doing at least $10 million a year in volume. I know that depending on the market you're in, that might not even make you a top producer. But for most of the markets that we see across the country, that usually is about a barometer as to what it takes for somebody to be in that top echelon, is breaking through that $10 million mark as a minimum to get to the next level. Our goal is to help you earn an additional $300K in GCI over the next 12 months with the different programs that we have in place, no matter what level you're at in real estate. And one of the ways that we want to do that is just bringing the best people all throughout the country to you, picking their brain, learning from them, being able to capture some of their best practices so that we can provide a library of those best practices for you and help you grow your business. So today we get to bring on one of my favorite guys here in the local market of Tampa Bay, Mr. Tony Baroni. His TB does stand for Tony Baroni, but it also stands for Tampa Bay. So it has a lot of different meanings to it. Great branding for sure. And your parents did a good job naming you Tony. They knew one day.
I think so. I think they did.
They knew one day that was going to mean something. So if you don't know Tony yet, he's very well known in our local market here in Tampa Bay. He's a perennial top producer. Today, we're going to be diving into team building, which is something Tony has thrived with. He's has a great reputation as a great team leader here in the Tampa Bay market. Tony is responsible for over $1 billion in sales volume since he got into the business. You could probably give some more exact numbers if you want, Tony. But from what I know, you do well over $100 million every year with your organization. I believe last year you actually were the #1 producer in all of the Tampa Bay market in terms of the number of transactions with your team, doing over, I believe it was over 180 something transactions, if I remember correctly.
304. Don't rob me, Don.
Yes,
Don't
exactly. I cut it in half. I cut it in half on you.
No, you can't do that. Each one was too difficult to do that.
Dude, that's impressive. Over 300 transactions last year. Tony's background, he's from the Midwest originally, eventually got himself into the sunshine of Tampa, and he now has been a team leader for multiple years here in this market. He's with Keller Williams Realty. He's also part of are you still on the leadership committee there with KW?
I am not currently this year, but I have for many years.
For many years, been on the board over there, participates in masterminds with Gary Keller himself on a regular basis, travels constantly to some of the conferences across the country. And like I said, here in our local market of Tampa Bay has just built an amazing reputation as a great leader. So when we thought about who can we bring on to talk about our topic today, Tony was obviously one of the first people that I thought of as somebody who has done things right when it comes to building a great team. And that, again, is our topic. And what I've really have always been impressed by with Tony is that it's not about the number of people necessarily in his organization, but it's about the productivity that his people produce. And he takes a lot of pride in that. I know we've had that conversation before. So let's dig into that a little bit. So Tony, thanks for being here today, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the warm welcome. I'm gonna call you if I'm ever down about myself, Don.
I'm always here for you, man. Anytime. So why don't we just start a little bit with your thought process of what went into, obviously you were a solo producer at first, right? When you started building your business and your career in real estate. So actually, what was it?
I started with a team. So
Okay.
let me back up and I started in 2005, and I joined a team immediately when I got licensed. Okay. And then long story short, that team basically was it was me and a married couple, and that married couple had invested in a lot of real estate, not at a good time because the market turned, right? So essentially, they had to kind of do their thing and focus on that. We were successful in the time we were together, but essentially the investments they were making really had pulled them out of the business. So I found myself pretty much overnight being a solo agent, and I'm like, I don't know, really want to be on a team and learn the business. And so I joined another team, and that's when I joined KW.
Okay.
That was 2007, and I was on that team for about 4 or 5 years, and then ultimately I just really wanted some more leverage in my world. And at the time, no fault of my rainmaker and mentors, they were outstanding, setting me up for success, right? But ultimately, I ran out of time. I couldn't work any more than what I was working. Mind you, this was really tough, challenging market. So for everyone that's like, this market sucks, I assure you, the last market during that time was 50 times harder than this market. I'm
Those
just
were the
being
good old 2008 days, right?
just being honest, right? So anyway, I went to my rainmaker and I said, "Hey, I really want some leverage. I need some help." And really back then it was kind of like the admin was really for the rainmaker is kind of how it's set up back then.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, well, this is a shame. I mean, I like where I'm at. I love it. I want to continue working with them. I really don't want to learn all the business side. I really just want to do sales. And I found myself kind of in a pickle where I needed to make a decision, right? So I decided I had to start my own team, right? So the premise of our team has always been we don't want people to leave unless they feel like they can't grow to the level they want to be, right?
Okay.
So I've kind of taken that to the extreme on our team with production, leverage around people, and kind of been a pioneer in some ways of like trying to figure out like how to maximize that salesperson to do the most business possible and have the biggest life possible, right? So that's my background. Started my team in 2010. Tony Baroni team. First thing I did was a logo. Everyone's like, "Why are you doing a logo?" I'm like, "I just think this is the first thing I need to do, right?" So
Yeah.
I ended up doing the TB logo, and that's been a really good decision for us. And fast forward, everyone has a logo now, right? But
Yeah.
really, back then, no one but a brokerage had that I can think of locally at least didn't have a logo, and just some of the little things like that I think is what I've kind of brought to the table with some innovation and just thinking about things a little bit differently maybe than the next person.
Yeah, it's funny how even just something as simple as creating a logo creates a certain feeling, within the people who might be attracted and working with you. That there's something different here that they can resonate with a brand, right?
For sure.
There's a lot of power behind that, which is obviously why so many people spend a lot of money on building brands and investing in them. So that does make sense to me. Now, if you lived in Detroit, the TB thing might not be as powerful, but
Right.
it plays
Yeah.
well in the
Yeah.
Tampa Bay market. I
It's
wanted to
worth it.
quickly ask too. We're going to dig into some of your philosophies on team building, but you mentioned your early days working with a team, and that was kind of how you learned the business. How important do you think it is, Tony, for a newer agent to hook up with a team, to grease the skids, so to speak, and to learn this business? Do you think that's really critical? Do you feel like it's more of an option? What is your opinion on that?
I am absolutely shocked that more people do not join teams, to be honest. I feel like I didn't question it at all. Immediately, day one, I was on a team, and then I moved from there to another team, and then I was solo for about 2 months, and then I started building my team. So 2 months out of the last 19 years is the only time I wasn't on a team.
Yeah.
So that's just how I think about it. But there is so much to learn in this business, and the 4 years I was on a team. I would argue I got 15 years of real estate experience, meaning that's how many appointments I went on. That's how many buyer consultations I did, listing presentations. It would have taken me, I don't know how long to do the same amount of business, right? And get the experience. And as I said, I really didn't want to leave that team. And at the end of the day, I made a decision that I needed to. So the number one thing kind of start with, I think, the mindset of building a team. I think, you don't build a team until you have enough business going that it requires the next person.
Yeah.
Right? So it requires you to add a person on. So it's like you don't have any time left. Your schedule's completely full.
Yeah.
And that's how I would do it. Now, other people, hey, I'm going to hire an admin day one. Great. If you have experience doing that, not a bad strategy,
Mhm.
but they better get trained, right? So you really need the amount of business that is required to be keeping the next person busy, in my opinion. I think
Yeah,
that
and
really
that's
matters.
kind of some of the best ways I would think to train them is to make sure there's just so much business that it just forces them to get good at it quicker, right?
1,000%. Yeah.
Right.
So everything I'm going to talk about today, this is the book I've followed, which is The Millionaire Real Estate Agent,
Mhm.
wrote by Gary Keller. Yeah, Keller Williams wrote the book literally on how to build teams.
Yep.
I've done a really good job of following this. I wouldn't say to exact T, but a lot of this is what I've done. It's all right here too. So this book is phenomenal. If you haven't read it and
Yep.
you're interested in building a team, I would definitely check this out and start here. I'm going to reference some things out of it today as well as we talk through this. And then I'll go through another book here in a minute too, just on that I recommend with team building as well.
Cool. Yeah, some people I know reference that book as the Bible for real estate agents. So I know it's a pretty important one.
Yeah, and it really was just to give people background. They interviewed the top agents in the country in the early 2000s, and they found out they all had commonalities on how to build a team. They took that information and put it in a book, and then taught people really how to do. The crazy part about this, Don, a lot of people in this book was doing 25, 50 million, and they were the top agents in the entire country, right?
Wow.
So the amount of business, how businesses have grown since then is pretty outstanding. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really remarkable to think like what's
Yeah. Now that
possible.
that volume would probably still make you a top producer within most local markets, but definitely not nationally.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So it's pretty crazy when you think about if you build a team right with leverage, what's possible, right? So for me, if you're listening, what I do, take a piece of paper out and I want you to draw a triangle. Okay. Um, at the bottom of the triangle, I'm going to have you write the word leverage. Okay. The top left, I want you to write listings. Okay. And the top right, I want you to write leads. So
I'm going to do this right now, Tony.
leverage, listings, and leads. Okay.
Yep.
So that's what we call the triangle. And that's how we look at it. So the question becomes like, what are you short on in your business, right? Is it leads? Is it listings? Or is it leverage, right? Now, those that will prefer working just with buyers, for example, replace the word listings with buyers. It really doesn't matter what your preference is. But listings, leads, and leverage, I think is good way to look at it, right? So if you have so many leads that you're having a hard time servicing, you're not calling people back, your voicemail's full, you are just not given the service that you really want to give, then it may be time to add the bottom, which is leverage, right?
Mhm.
If you have so many listings, you're not able to keep up getting them on the market, providing that five-star experience that you want to provide your clients. Leverage may be the thing missing, right? You may have enough people where you already have a team, right? And you're like, well, crap, I need more leads,
Mhm.
right? I need more listings. There's always ways to go about that to go out and get more business. You can pay for them. You can prospect, you can lead generate. What I love about this business, Don, is there's so many different ways to build your business. And there's not one way that works, right? There's a million ways that work. So I want people to just think like, what am I missing in my business right now?
Mhm.
It could be all of them. Like Tony, listen, man, I'm missing all three.
Mhm.
And that's okay, right? When you first start, you are probably missing all three. You don't have any of them. So if there's something that's painful in your life, I want you to always refer back to this chart and say, what am I missing in my business right now? Okay. And then go out and figure that out and then go get after it to figure out how to get better, right? And what you need to do differently.
And if you had to put like an order of priority on the three, or maybe you wouldn't even do that, I'm assuming you would start with the business doesn't exist without the leads component, right? That would be
There you
number
go.
one. Right.
Man, I love that you said that. I talk to other business people every day about this stuff, right? If you don't have leads, you don't have a business.
Right.
You have to figure out how to get leads. You could be the smartest realtor in the entire planet, right? And you will not survive if you don't have leads.
Right.
So, you are in marketing, whether you want to admit it or not. We are marketers as realtors, right?
For
So
sure.
we need to figure out how to bring the business in, get leads, um, and then really become listings. I think for me, I became the lead listing agent on the team I was on. And I became an expert at listings. Like, how do I become the best listing expert possible? That could be a buyer specialist as well. It could be both. Everyone, you don't have to pick one or the other, but how do you dominate in that category? And then over time, when you do both and they're working, you're going to look up and you're going to go, oh crap, I need more people, right?
Yeah.
I like right now, Don, I need to hire 6 people right now,
Yeah.
like today, if I could. The challenge is finding people that align with all your core values and all the things that you're looking for to deliver that 5-star experience, right? So that's my next thing I'm going to talk about is this book called Traction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is by Gino Wickman.
Yeah.
Uh,
The
this
EOS
book,
system.
yep, it's
Mhm.
phenomenal. If you're in the stage where, hey, I'm going to hire my first person, or I'm going to hire my 10th person, or hey, I've had a team for 10 years, time to reevaluate. I would start with this book and go through it as a leadership team or yourself and come up with what your core values are, right? And then when you're sitting across that person that emulates all those core values, you'll be like, this person's it, right? So it doesn't become liking someone or not liking someone. It becomes, how do we find out if they believe what I believe and they want to go to work every day with the same core values?
And are they a fit for what we're looking to attract?
Exactly. That's it. That's it. So Traction's a great book. I would highly recommend that as well.
Do you
So
find,
build,
Tony, do you think one of the biggest mistakes that maybe people make is, you mentioned earlier, in your opinion, getting into the team building side should start with you having so much business that you kind of are forced to, right? That you need to in order to continue serving them. Do you think that is a common mistake that some agents make, is they maybe get into that team building side too quickly,
yes.
and then they find themselves still trying to get the lead thing right, but at the same time now they have these people counting on them, and they're spreading themselves a little bit too thin. Is that a common mistake?
Yeah. I mean, it all has to work and together, right? Because I'll never forget kind of what changed my way is I was delivering this 5-star experience. I was getting reviews. I knew I was providing an amazing service. I was getting really good at getting referrals at the closing table specifically. I know you're really good at that too, Don.
Mm-hmm.
And so my business just started exploding, and I had some of my favorite clients referred me their child, their adult child that was wanting to buy their first home. I was so busy, I couldn't even get to calling them back for a day or two, and I remember just feeling horrible, right? And I had a few people on my team. It's not like it was by myself.
Yeah.
It's like I can't let this happen ever again. Like these people trust me, they want to send me a referral and I can't handle it, right? And um, so that started making my decisions for me, all around delivering a 5-star experience and then finding the right people that can help, and then understanding like you know how to coach them on, hey, my business has grown, so can I tell you what's changed, right? And they're like, yeah, where are you at now, Tony? Well, I've been hiring people because I can't handle everything myself anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have hired buyer specialists that are going to work specifically with your referral, and that's their whole job, is to show them what they want and then find them the right property and help them walk through that process.
Yep.
So I have a transaction manager now, right? So that person, once you go under contract, they'll be helping as well. I'll be involved on, but if you have any questions, and you feel like service isn't where you need it to be or whatever you need, you can always reach out to me, right?
Yep.
And then they're going to go, okay, cool, no problem. And then if you start getting calls back, you have some issues, right? It's training. Um, Sometimes it's just a personality deal, but I mean, and in all
Yeah.
my years, it's been a handful of times, guys. So I'm gonna eliminate that myth that you have to do everything yourself. I'm gonna eliminate that right now. I would say my experience would be around 40 transactions, call it 35 to 45 by yourself with no help is most people's threshold of
Mhm.
what business they can do. Now,
Mhm.
you may be sitting on here, Tony, I've done 75, right? You're better than me then. Like I cannot do 75 myself, right? So, one admin can double your business, right? So if you hire the right admin that takes off that 80% of paperwork, phone calls, answering the phone, all the stuff, then you could double your business as long as you're doing your lead generation properly.
Yep.
So level one would be there's 7 levels. Let's go through each one real fast.
Go
The
ahead.
first one would be you're by yourself.
Mhm.
It's just you. By the way, that is a very profitable business. So if you
There's
don't
nothing
want to
wrong with
build a
that at
team,
all. Right.
yeah, if you don't want to build a team, that's okay.
Yep.
Like you can do that your whole life and make a fortune, right? So just understand that. Um, Part of what I've done is I bought back time over time. Like I
Mhm.
want some time back, so I'm going to bring on this person to be able to have a better life. For me is how what I've decided to do. It's
Mhm.
a trade-off, time for money type
Yep.
of deal. Everyone's different. So level one, you're by yourself. Level two, you and one assistant. Okay. Level three, this is on page 202 of the red book, by the way.
And that one assistant you just mentioned could be that one tool that could literally double your business if they're the right assistant.
Boom.
Yeah.
I found that I was doing 55 and then I went to 110 when I hired an admin. That's
Yep.
what happened for me.
Yep.
So literally verbatim, it doubled my business.
Mhm.
Um, then the third level, I think, is where people get confused. They're like, it's you and they hire all buyer's agents or they hire more realtors or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, the book recommends an admin and a marketing person because that marketing person, if they know what they're doing, they can create the leads and they can create the listings, which would require you to do more leverage, which is level four. Level four is you, a lead buyer specialist, marketing, and admin.
Mhm.
Okay. So maybe I'm like, I love buyers. I
Mhm.
want to work with the buyers, but I don't want to work with the sellers. Or maybe you just have 2 agents and you divide all the business. You can
Mhm.
do it any way you want.
Mhm.
This recommends hiring a lead buyer specialist. They handle all the buyers. Number five, it's you, the lead buyer specialist, a lead listing agent, and that marketing and admin. Okay. That's level five.
So
And
that's
then
when you're completely removing yourself for the most part from the transactional side of the business. And now you're really operating as that true coach for both sides of your agent business.
that's right. That's right. And that's an additional agent as well. Call it
Right.
a buyer's agent.
Right.
Level six is you and the same people we named, but we also add an admin. We have the admin, we have a transaction coordinator, and we have a listing manager, and we have an ISA or OSA that's inbound or outbound to create more business. And then you have really 4 other agents minimum, right? Um, and it could be a lot more agents, right? You can have a team, right, that is one admin and 50 salespeople. Like,
Sure.
welcome to most teams in America. That's what
Sure.
they.
Right.
I've
And
opted.
from my experience anyway, what I've seen is usually when a team goes through that methodology, there's a little bit more of a churn and burn culture though that starts to happen when you have that type of a ratio, right?
Yeah,
And I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. It's just kind of understanding how a lot of those teams operate, right?
yeah, I agree. Like, I've decided to invest a lot more into my support and admin. So we have 3 ISA, we have um, three, what, 5 admin, 3 ISA. We have a field rep, we have a stager, all the leverage is kind of built in. And the goal is for the salesperson to really love it to do what they love to do every day and the other stuff other people do, and then everyone's happy.
Yeah.
So the average on our team right now is most people have been with us 6, 7, or 8 years.
Right.
And I think that's because of the way we built it over time. There's pros and cons to everything, right?
Sure.
But for me, our average agent is selling 57 homes a year.
Yeah.
On average, we have two selling 100 on our team, approximately every year. And then seventh level is,
And your team right now, Tony, is not like massive compared to some others, but again, it's lean and mean, I would say, right? Like,
yeah, we have 10 salespeople,
right.
and that's it. Not even nine, I think, right now. So, and then the seventh level is the CEO kind of steps out of the business. They go off and do what they want, and they do a check-in once a month with the CEO, the new CEO,
Mm-hmm.
is seventh level, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the last 7 years done, I've been in the sixth level. And the beginning of this year, I am back in production, so I'm in the basically fifth level, right? So it can change over time,
Sure.
but essentially our business, our listing side's grown so fast that I've had to step back in because we don't have enough. We can't cover the appointments, right? So I had to come back in. So I've been working my tail off, the past few months and doing everything else that I do. But it's been great to see where we're at in the marketplace, and a lot's changed in a couple of years.
Yeah, I was about to say it's probably always good too, as for the leader, to get back into the field every now and again, just to
Yes.
stay relevant and stay, nose to the grindstone, prove to your people that you still got it, right? The old dog
Yeah, I'm
still
like,
has
I can
tricks.
sell too, guys.
Yeah, exactly. But then it makes your coaching that much more powerful, I think, too.
I think so too. I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the different levels. What I want people to hear is you got to have the business before you start hiring a bunch of people, right? Now, if you want to start, go get an admin for first. Another caveat that we do, we have a showing model, right? So an agent she was selling about 70 homes a year, consistently, and she didn't have anything left. Like that was it. She didn't have any more time.
Mm-hmm.
Most she's going to do is probably 70, which is crazy amount, right? Still a lot of business.
Sure.
So we have the showing model set up for her where she basically sold 99 homes last year and didn't show any homes the entire year. Now she is doing buyer consultations. She is negotiating, she's doing all that, but really from her house.
Mm.
And she has two showing specialists that are showing all the homes. So I just want to eliminate a lot of myths, that that's a bad service or you can't do that. You can absolutely do that. It's all how you set it up properly from the very beginning, so everyone understands like who does what, and the client doesn't care. Guess what? The client doesn't care as long as they get great service. They don't care how it works. Believe me. They want to know when the house is. I'm going to sum up real estate with two quick things. Sellers, they want you to come out to their house when they want you to come out to their house. They want help with pricing and help with marketing. That's it. Okay. If you can do that, they're going to hire you
Mm-hmm.
70% to 80% of the time, depending on the year if you're the first one out there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Buyers, they want you to open the door around their schedule whenever they want. Okay. After that, it's building value for them to go through you versus someone else.
Right.
That's real estate, guys. So, the people that are like, I don't work weekends, I don't work nights, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. That's fine, but you will lose business if you're not pretty open-minded here at the beginning. If you first start your business and you are not willing to meet people, but we're really big, get belly to belly in front of people as much as possible. And you're going to do more business the more people you do that with. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
So, but that's
No,
real estate.
that makes sense. And I appreciate breaking that down like that. I think that's very helpful for people to understand, especially when you can take something as complex as real estate and simplify it to those two truths, right? Which hopefully lands on, and resonates with certain people. We did have a question pop into the chat. We could just address that real quick from Sarah on what advice do you have for choosing your admin? I know we talked about that first person before. Anything that comes to mind, Tony, as far as what you'd be looking for? And I did want to dig in a little bit. That question ties into kind of my next point anyway, which
Hmm.
is about what you're looking for when you're looking for the right people, right? Because I think that's another common mistake that a lot of agents make is they might just hire more out of necessity than what you said earlier, which was identifying your core values and figuring out who is the right fit for those.
Yeah.
So obviously your core values are probably going to be different than maybe Sarah's or some other agent who's trying to determine what they want their culture to be. But speaking for yourself, like what are those things that you identified that are important to you, and that you would look for in your admin decision, and even beyond that, other members of your team?
Yeah, so I think each role requires kind of a different requirement or different things I'm looking for. But the number one thing universally that I'm always looking for are team players, right? So what I mean by that is they have a proven track record of being on a team and they want to be on a team. They want to know what their role is and how they fit within the team. And they have that like very supportive attitude to help each other, right? And that's the number one for all team members that I hire.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that, after that, like it's very complicated. So I'll try to break it down real quick. It's hard to like this could be an 8 hour course, to be
Sure,
honest. Like
sure.
maybe actually 2 days is what it would take to go into deep dive. But admin, I like to do a disc assessment with everyone we interview. Okay. What I'm doing on the disc assessment is essentially just trying to understand what their natural strengths are and seeing if I can put them in a place on my team that would be a good fit for them, that
Mm-hmm.
they would enjoy, and long term they'll want to stay, right? So for me, I was a logistics consultant before real estate, right? Extremely detailed, like about as detailed of a job as you could have. I woke up one day and I said, I hate my life. Like, I can't do this anymore. Right. And I happened to be buying a house at that time and I ended up getting my real estate license. But um, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you want to put people in their strength zone. It doesn't mean they can't do another job, but they'll wake up one day and they'll be like, I can't do this anymore. Right.
Yeah.
So I try to avoid that as much as I can because I want people to live in their strength zone and have a great, live the life they want to live. Right. As they say, YOLO, you only live once, right? So put people
Amen.
in a good spot if you can. Now, the
Do you feel
disc
like the
assessment,
disc assessment gives you what you need to make that
yeah,
analyzation?
it gives me a conversation starter to talk through some stuff. And then what we do is we validate that, right? So you're never going to do, oh, this person's disc is wrong. I'm never going to hire them, right?
Right.
Never that. But it creates a conversation to you to validate what that says
Mhm.
and have a conversation around that in a screening interview format to know if is this person for this role or not. Now, the one thing I'd say, maybe their profile has nothing to do. It says that they wouldn't do a good job, but guess what? If they've done a good job already at that role and you validated it and got references and you know they can do it, nothing else matters,
Yep.
right? That is the most important thing to know. But the disc to me is really important. I follow another thing called career visioning, which is another assessment, and then we just essentially go through it together and we validate it. And it's super detailed.
Hmm.
I'd say 95% of people that do it with us go, I cannot believe it gave all that information for me doing an assessment,
Hmm.
right? And again, it's a conversation piece where you can deep dive and understand how they think, what their strengths are. They can ask questions, so it's a process.
Yep.
Our average takes about 4 hours total, and we can always do it at the same all at once if we wanted, but we usually break it up in 2 or 3 sessions when we're hiring someone. And the next step we do is a group interview. You don't want to bring someone on and then the team didn't have any agreement whatsoever on the person. So I kind of want to get their input, especially with my leadership team.
Yep.
And then we make a decision. We just, do the job offer from there.
And this is a process that you use for or any role from admin to becoming an agent to marketing assistant, whatever the role might
Correct.
be.
Correct. I'm doing it every week with various candidates all the time, trying to find, who's going to be a good fit.
And
And
that four
sometimes
hours you
they
mentioned,
discover everything and they're like, this isn't a fit for me. And we're like, oh, okay, that's fine, right?
yeah,
Rather
absolutely.
know up front than after 90 days or whatever.
Absolutely. Saves both of you guys a lot of pain that way.
It does take time, but at the end of the day, it's not about me, it's about them and then putting them in a good spot, right?
Yeah.
And
Well, one of the best advices I ever heard was the concept of hiring slow and firing fast, right?
yeah,
Versus hiring fast and firing slow. That's what most people do.
yeah.
Yep.
Let's talk about that real quick. I would say, set your standards of what the standards look like for the role, and then it's on the person to hit those standards. It's not on Don, it's not on Tony, it's on the person you hire, but you have to go through what those are prior to hiring them, right? Or they don't know, right? They may be like, yeah, it's no problem, right? So people say sometimes like, Tony, like, how do you handle someone that's not delivering the results? Well, they tap out pretty fast because they already knew what the requirements were.
Right.
If they're not hitting them, either they don't like it or they're just not willing to do the work. It's one or the other typically.
Right.
So they self-select out and they say, this isn't for me, right?
Right. Yeah. And again, if there's clarity on what the expectations are, then it makes that conversation really easy.
Yeah, our organization believes in coaching, so every one of my teams coach for 30 minutes once a week and has a direct report person on the team that actually job is to coach them and get them get them the answers they need for whatever and help build a plan. Like, what are you doing every day? Like when you first start in real estate, you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So you may need some coaching on like, hey, should we attack this or should we go about this, like with your lead generation and stuff like that?
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier that you have some leaders on the team that are involved in this process of bringing people on. Um, so are the leadership level that you've developed, is that based generally on their volume, or are there other qualities that you're looking for that kind of promote somebody within the organization?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of things, but longevity has a lot to do with it. And then I would say being able to, they've proven themselves in their role. So, I always tell people, you want the next role, then kick ass in your role you're in, right? You got to do that well first. You don't go straight to the top without like you don't give someone a title, they earn the title, right? Is the
Yeah.
way I look at it. And again, if they know the expectations, it's a pretty easy decision because you're like, this person's done everything I've asked them to do, and they go above and beyond that. Therefore, hey, here's the next opportunity, right?
Yep. No, that makes sense. And guys, if you did have any other questions that you wanted to throw in there, you can either do it via the chat, or there is a Q&A option too at the bottom of Zoom, and we can try to answer one or two of them before we let Tony go. I wanted to hit on the importance of culture that you built as well within your organization. And I know you've already talked a little bit about how important it is to identify in advance what culture you want, right? As a team, as the team leader, so that you can integrate that into even your interviewing process. And once you kind of have clarity around that, it definitely makes it easier to know what you're looking for, right? When you're interviewing and recruiting. Is there any, I would say, tips or things that you've learned over the years that have helped you with building the right culture, maintaining the right culture? Maybe we've in the early days, like developing an aspect of culture within the people of your organization. Does anything come to mind there?
Yeah, a lot of stuff. So just little things, right? Like we recognize everyone's birthday on the team. We recognize everyone's team anniversary on the team. We make a huge deal about it. We do monthly awards within our team for many things. Like we have a weekly reporting on, it's all numbers driven, where whoever wins that weekly gets like a gift card. For culture, we do a Captain of Core Values award where every team member can vote for other team members. Whoever gets the most votes, by the way, we read them all out loud. We have a whole team meeting about it. And you want to talk about people being grateful to remind them of like, I'm on a pretty awesome team.
Yeah.
That's it right there. It's like being acknowledged. Everyone wants to be acknowledged, right? So
Yeah, that's
we
really
give
cool.
them the vessel to do that, and whoever wins gets either their car detailed or they get a 1 hour massage.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I
so
remember tying to what you just said with my Cutco team over the years. We used to spend at least one meeting a year where I would have each person on the team write a note to somebody else on the team about why they were grateful for that person, right?
right.
And then we would read them all during the meetings, and man, it would light up the room. You would just see these people feel so loved when some person who they didn't even know felt that way about them, you
Yeah.
know, was it we were able to read a note like that. It's very powerful.
I think so. I believe that on my end, and I've seen. So, how do you acknowledge people all the time? I'll rattle off just other things that came to mind. Holidays. I've been known to take people to the mall and just hand out cash and say, you have 60 minutes to spend every single cent that I just gave you on yourself. You can't buy for anyone else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Taking people out for events, right? We've done pretty much most events in Tampa Bay at this point that as a team, Rays games, Bucks games. I'm a big sports fanatic, right? So I've chosen a lot of that stuff. Starlight Cruise, a lot of stuff that real producers, by the way, if you're not doing that, Don invites y'all, local Tampa Bay real producers, go to the events. Like you'll probably do a transaction with the people on that at that event, and they're very, very good events, right? So good way to network, get to know each other. So you're doing a great job with that, Don. But people want acknowledgement, right? So that's not only your team members, your clients want the same thing, right? So one thing I've done this year as an example of that is we bought Rays season tickets and we are hooking people up of some of my favorite people, favorite clients, friends. Hey, we got two race tickets. I wanted to give you a game on us, right?
Yep.
It just is a good thing. It's 81 opportunities to show people love, right? So we've
Hopefully, you're going to
decided.
go to at least some games yourself, right?
Oh yeah, I will. I will, but my schedule is pretty crazy. So, out of the 81, I'm guessing I'll probably go to five or something like that. It
Sure.
definitely will not be that many, but that's not the point. It's
I
the
know.
point to show love to your clients and team members and friends and stuff like that.
Yeah, gratitude never falls flat. That's for sure.
I agree.
And figuring out a way to be able to give back like that makes a huge difference. What are some things that you have found to be effective in terms of like organizational systems to kind of keep your team on the same page? Do you have any favorite programs or systems that have worked for you to just keep moving things forward?
Yeah, we use Brivity for really transaction management. We do Monday Mojo, so we report our numbers out every Monday morning as a team, right? So if you're on there and you go, how many contacts do you have, Tony? Zero. How many appointments did you set? Zero, right? You don't make it very long on our team if you're not in production and you're not
Yeah.
trying and you're not working, right?
The rest of the team just starts going, shame, shame,
Well, no
shame.
one says anything because no one has to. The person just goes, I'm out. Like, I don't want to do this.
I love that. Yeah.
So there's a high level of accountability, but there's a lot of autonomy too to allow people to kind of be who they are. Like we have a meeting basically once a day, and we do huddles. So we do a lot of training. This morning we actually listened to a podcast prior to the meeting. We've had it for a couple weeks, and then we have one person pick a podcast. They send it out to the team. Everyone listens to it, and then that person leads and goes through what the podcast was about, some key takeaways, some ahas, and then we have an open discussion about it. So we did that this morning during our team meeting. But Wednesdays we do our coming soon and what's coming up on the market, buyer needs. We do that internally on our team. Thursday we do another training. Friday I bring in one of the top agents in the country to speak to our team to teach us on some topic. You've done that actually, Don. You taught
Yeah.
us on burls, which was
Yep.
amazing, right? So how do you get better every day? You end up you need to get training, right? And
Sure.
to say that we all know it all, like the business changes every 2 to 3 years quite considerably, right? So you need to always be like learning what's new. And, you know, 2 years ago, you could have been the rock star sell 100 homes. you might not be able to do 10 this year. Like that's how hard, that's how much things change, right?
Yep. That's
So
part of the, again, driven as to why we have this Top Producers Nation community now, and providing training with people like you is to give the people more resources that they can go to grow. And hopefully this has been a call full of that type of information. We're going to wrap up here in a few minutes. Anything else that you feel like is relevant to at least mention before we jump about? So here's one thing. I feel like one of the, I guess, challenges that you would say that a lot of team builders have is this feeling maybe of overwhelm, or maybe some people might even call it burnout, right? Now, in my opinion, that stems a lot from having the wrong people around them, right, in their organization. But I'm just curious, in your opinion, like if you've experienced that as a team leader, what advice you might give to somebody who's like, hey, I'm in this team and I don't even like my role. Like I'm not happy, right, with what I'm doing. Do you have any advice in that situation?
yeah, I think you just have to have open communication always, and don't be afraid to raise your hand and ask for help, or get advice, or sometimes people are on the wrong seat of the bus, and that's okay, right? I have people all the time, to be honest, like they leave, or they left our team, and then 2 years later they call me back and they're like, hey, um, it's not about me at all. They're like, I miss the team, like I miss the culture, right? So for me, it's really just um, getting people on the right, in the right strength zone. It's really,
Yeah.
it goes back to that, because if they do, they'll enjoy it. But it absolutely is hard, this business. I've made every mistake you can think of. I just want everyone to understand that. Like, it took me three admin. I'll kind of end on this. This is a great story. Um, Everyone's like, Tony, you got to hire admin. Well, hire an admin. Okay. I think you've heard this story, Don, but
Mm-hmm.
90 days in, we're doing our review, and I'm like giving her a substantial raise. She was changed my world. I'm so excited. She's like, Tony, I'm taking a job as a model in Miami. And I'm like, I thought she was joking. I'm like, really? And she's like, no, really. I got this offer. I'm moving. And I'm like, okay, so devastated was the word, right?
Yeah.
Um, Next hire. Okay, it took me like 6 more months to find the next person, because I'm in production every day. I'm like running appointments like crazy.
Right.
And I was going on like 3 or 4 listing appointments a day at one point in the short sale era, right? So next person I hire, she's with me for about 6 months. 4th of July comes, and she had, a long story short, she was in a domestic violence situation. She left my office, which none of us knew, by the way, left our office, never came back. I had 35 contracts at the time.
Mm.
And I did know she found safety. She moved out of state and stuff like that, right? Had
Yeah.
the guy calling us, like threatening us, crazy, crazy town, right?
Wow.
Well, then I could have quit, right? I could have said, this admin stuff doesn't work. I need to do it all myself, Don.
Yeah.
I'm the only one that can do it, right?
Yeah.
Well, the third one I hired was with me for 8 years. 8 years.
Wow.
Helped me build the whole company. Tons of gratitude for her. And um, if I would have quit, I wouldn't have built my team, right?
Yeah.
If I would have said this doesn't work, I would have gave up, and I would have never became the Tony Bruni team. I would have just been a solo agent, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But not one hire I can go through on the different roles have been the first time everything was perfect.
Right.
Usually you have to fail 2 or 3 times before you get it figured out, right?
You
We
would
had a
say that
showman sit there.
as you've moved up on those roles, you've also had reached different levels of fulfillment in the business. Would you agree with that?
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
And I set out, just for everyone to understand, I set out to replace my income at my consultant job. This really was the goal.
Yeah.
And I didn't set out to start a 20-person team. That's what happened from delivering great service over time, is just bringing on more people as needed as we grow. And there is a vision of like, okay, what I need to find next, right? Like what, just understand there's a lot of planning in all of this too. And believe me, if you're sitting there like, yeah, sounds great, Tony. I have an interview Thursday at 5 o'clock. Like they work 9 to 5. So, you just have to figure it all out, right?
Right.
Which requires a lot of grit and time and effort. But
And
yeah,
if
none
you're
of
willing
it's
to
easy.
do that, that's what separates you from the people that aren't.
Yeah, it's not for the faint of heart of building a team,
Right.
right? It just isn't.
Well, man, I appreciate your time. I know that you have to run to an appointment here soon. If you wanted a little bit more info from Tony, he's going to actually be on one of our panels later this month at Whiskey Cake on April, whatever that I think it's the 17th, I believe. Yes, April 17th. So some of the stuff that we've touched on, we might dig into in more depth in person at Whiskey Cake. You can register for that at tampabayrealproducers.com/events. Just go to our event tab and you'll see that date with Tony and a couple other great team builders will be on the panel this month. So, Tony, you're the man. I will see you Thursday at the at Center Club for our next mastermind. And I appreciate you allocating the time to be here. And I hope everybody got a ton of value. This is recorded and it will live in our Top Producers Nation community. So you guys can find that there in our library as well. Tony, have a great day, my man. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, Don. Appreciate it.
Bye bye
Thank you,
now.
sir.